Good afternoon from Bramlage Coliseum in Manhattan, Kansas. Dan Lucero, 580 Sports Talk with you for a K-State instant reaction on our YouTube page, 580 Sports Talk, on our Twitter account, 580 Sports Talk, and on the WIBW News Facebook page. Kicking the downstairs for K-State this afternoon. No other way to put it. Jameer Nelson with the dagger three for the TCU Horned Frogs with 1.1 seconds to play, giving the Frogs a 75-72 victory over the Wildcats. And while this is not a fatal blow to Kansas State's NCAA tournament hopes, it is certainly a big blow to those hopes as the Wildcats fall down to 15-10 and 5-7 in Big 12 play. We'll break this one down maybe a little quicker than we usually do. We'll just try and fly through some thoughts here because they got to clear the arena for the K-State women's game coming up here in about 2 hours. So we won't keep you long. We appreciate you watching, tuning in. Feel free to jump in with a comment on the YouTube live stream or on Facebook if you're watching, or on Twitter if you're watching there as well. We'll try to get to all of those as we go. First things first here. Jameer Nelson's shot won the game in a literal sense. It was tied. Nelson made the shot. It was a tough shot. K-State could not have defended that last possession better. They switched to a zone. It threw TCU off. Nelson shot that ball off balance, deep on the left wing, and he cashed it. Sometimes players make plays. That was Jerome Tang's message in his post-game radio show. He says, sometimes a player makes a play. Sometimes a guy makes a shot. And that's exactly what happened there for TCU. And that literally won the game. But this game was lost for K-State in a stretch midway through the second half when it looked like K-State was starting to seize control of the game. They went up 47-39. And from that point, TCU went on a 20-2 run, and they ended up leading by double digits with 7 minutes to play. And you can't let that happen on your home floor. And it's all the more frustrating that it happened, I think, in part because K-State lost their cool a little bit. They lost their composure. The officiating today did not make either coach happy. I'll start there. And you and me and Jerome Tang and Jamie Dixon on the TCU bench and the 10,000 or so people here at Bramlage Coliseum can groan and boo and shake our heads all we want at some of the more curious whistles, and there were a lot of them in this game. 42 combined fouls in this contest. And it's one thing to be frustrated, but it's another to allow it to affect your composure and your poise. And I felt that happened for Kansas State in this game, and I felt like that contributed in a big way, a negative way, to TCU being able to go on that 20-2 run, a game that Kansas State felt like they kind of had on a string a little bit, got away from them in that moment. And TCU was able to take the lead. They made plays. They did what they do. And they forced turnovers. They got runouts. They rebounded exceptionally well. Their second chance points were the biggest reason I think that they won this game. They outscored K-State 20-8 on second chance points. Even though they were just +4 overall on the glass, their effort on the rebounding department it outdid K-State in that department, and that's a big reason why TCU was able to win this game. Credit K-State for getting their heads back in the game, finding their composure, battling back, making some clutch free throws down the stretch, getting the game tied with 16 seconds left. They deserve credit for that, but unfortunately, you left the door ajar. Instead of having the game in control, you let it get out of your control, and that allowed TCU to dictate the terms in the final minutes. And it contributes to, again, a gut-wrenching loss for K-State. Good game for Tyler Perry. How about this shooting stat for Tyler Perry tonight? 6 of 13 from the field and 0 of 6 as I get rid of my trash here. 0 of 6 from the three-point arc. Tyler Perry did not make a three-pointer in this game, but he was 6 of 7 inside the arc and a perfect 12 for 12 at the free throw line. 24 points. I thought it was a really good game for Perry. I did a decent job taking care of the ball. Just 3 turnovers against a team that's 22nd in the country at forcing turnovers. I thought Perry was really good. Just couldn't find the range from 3, but he was not alone. K-State in this game, 1 of 15 from the three-point arc. That's 7% if you're curious. 1 for 15 from 3. TCU on the flip side, 6 out of 14, 43% from behind the arc. K-State could have found a 3, flipped some momentum late. Maybe the game looks different in the end, but it's hard to win a college basketball game with only 1 three-pointer. It's really hard, and Kansas State learned that again the hard way in this contest. Also in double figures, David Gasson, 12 points, 4 boards, 33 minutes off the bench. Played a little more because Jarrell Colbert got dinged up, only played 10 minutes in a starting role. He and Ernest Uday collided going for a rebound. Uday never returned to the game. Colbert only got spot minutes the rest of the way after their collision about midway through the first half. So Gasson played a lot of minutes. I hope you appreciate David Gasson. I think he's a good player. I think he helps this team a lot. I think they're better with him on the floor than when he's not on the floor. I think defensively he plays hard. I think he rebounds hard. Making better decisions out on the floor, not taking as many forced shots, not tossing up those three-pointers we saw him shoot at times earlier this year. I thought this was a really good game for David Gasson. I think he's a really important player, really solid player for this K-State team. Arthur Kaluma had 11 points, but he was 3 of 11 from the field. Cam Carter, 1 of 7 from the floor, just 6 points, and also 2 big free throw misses with about 3 minutes to play in what was at the time a 4-point game. Just not his night. And it's hard for K-State because they don't have a lot of supplemental scoring. They need their 3 best guys to score well. And Kaluma and Carter going a combined 4 for 18. Again, it's going to be really hard for K-State to win those games when that happens. But they almost did because they defended really well in the first half, held TCU to just 24 points. And because they made their free throws, they were 25 of 29 at the free throw line for 86%. TCU was just 21 of 30 at the charity stripe. Yes, that's a combined 59 free throws in 40 minutes of basketball. I promise I'll get to the officiating crew here in just a bit. But K-State had the opportunity to win this game, to get back on track, to get back to 500 in the league, to continue to kind of control their own destiny as far as just winning their home games, playing well at home. If they had won out at home going into today, that would have been 4 home games left, including today's. That would have gotten them to 9 wins in the Big 12. Now they're going to have to win out at home, and they're going to have to steal a road game. I don't think this is breaking news. I'm not optimistic about their chances of winning in Lawrence. So that means they're going to have to win Monday night in Austin, or they're going to have to win in Cincinnati in a couple of weeks. That's a Saturday. That's 2 Saturdays from now. If they don't win either of those games, I don't know about this team going to the NCAA tournament. It looks pretty unlikely, unless in that scenario they would have to win the Big 12 tournament. This was a game they had to have at home against a team that's probably around their equal. Maybe TCU's a little better, certainly 2 games up in the league standings. But this was winnable for Kansas State. And if Carter has a better game, if Kaluma has a better game, if they make more than 1 3-pointer, if they don't lose their heads for about a 5-6 minute stretch of game time because the officiating bothered them, I think Kansas State does win this game. But all of those things happened. And then Jameer Nelson hit a tough shot at the buzzer. And so you give credit to TCU. It's a big win for them, solidifies their NCAA tournament bona fides. They got 26 points from Micah Peavy. Their best player, their best scorer, Emmanuel Miller, only had 10 points, didn't score in the first half, but had some big buckets for them late. Peavy hit a pair of threes, not a great 3-point shooter. K-State was willing to let him shoot from 3, and he made a couple. He made more than K-State did as a team. And again, that's just not a recipe for success in college basketball. It's really hard to win games when you only make 1 3-pointer. Last thing, officials today were Jeb Hartness, Chris Paxey, and Christopher Merlot. Hartness and Merlot were 2 of the 3 that were on the Iowa State-Baylor game in Waco a couple of weeks ago. You may remember that as the game where Scott Drew got ejected for being like half a foot outside the coaching box. You might also remember that game for Baylor, the home team, being whistled for 18 fouls in the second half, and that very nearly costing them the game. I wouldn't hire Jeb Hartness to officiate a second-grade YMCA basketball game, certainly not to be the crew chief. It is not coincidence. There is, probably calling it a crisis is overstating it, but there's a problem with officiating in the Big 12 Conference. And Scott Drew, Kelvin Sampson, and Bill Self getting ejected from games kind of shows you, like, those are the 3 best coaches in this league and 3 of the most respected coaches in all of college basketball. And they're stepping over the line and making sure they make their point, not minding really getting ejected from games to make a point about the way games are being officiated in this league. It's not acceptable. And Jeb Hartness is at the heart of a lot of this. Like, I have seen, this is multiple games. His crew was bad. There was a call on Arthur Kaluma, and it was the call that threw K-State off kilter in the second half. And K-State can't allow this to happen. You got to play through it. But they called a foul on Arthur Kaluma that wasn't anything like a foul. I mean, there was almost no contact. It was preposterous that a foul was called on Kaluma. It ended up being his third. He picked up another one later on, a little bit more touch and go, but that ended up being his fourth foul. That took him out of the rhythm of the game there down the stretch. I don't know why Jeb Hartness and Christopher Merlot continue to get assignments after that Iowa State-Baylor debacle, but they got this assignment and they made a mess of this game. 42 combined fouls, 59 combined free throws. Game took 2.5 hours. That's not acceptable. That shouldn't happen. And, I'm not going to go through and say, well, every call was right or every call was wrong, this, that, and the third, but it just seems to happen a lot with these guys, with Hartness in particular. It seems to happen a lot that he's in charge of games where coaches are screaming at the officials, and he's in charge of games where there's 40 fouls, and he's in charge of games that run long. And it's bad for college basketball. It's bad for the Big 12 Conference. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the reaction video here. We're going to get out of here so they can clear the arena for the K-State women, sixth-ranked team of the country, taking on UCF this afternoon, a 4 o'clock start. We'll see if at least one home team can come up with a win here at Bramlage this afternoon. K-State back in action Monday night, big Monday, 8 p.m. tip in Austin, and they really need it. K-State going on the road to a team that is one of the worst home teams in the conference. Texas has a losing record at home. K-State's got to start sacking wins. Otherwise, they're going to be thinking about the NIT around here and not the NCAA tournament. Again, the final 75-72, TCU with the win. Jameer Nelson Jr. with the heartbreaker at the last second. And K-State is 15-10, 5-7 in Big 12 play. We'll talk about it on Tuesday's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Probably not this game. We'll talk more about the Texas game that will have just happened. But we'll talk plenty of K-State hoops on 580 Sports Talk on Tuesday. The gang's taking Monday off for President's Day. We'll be back at it on Tuesday from 2 to 6. We hope you'll join us in any of these forums on the YouTube, on Twitter, or on Facebook. Until then, I'm Dan Lucero saying good afternoon from Bramlage Coliseum.